The Eagles just made a move that nobody saw coming, and it could change everything. Jaylen Phillips, one of the most explosive young pass rushers in the league, was just snatched away from the Dolphins in a last-minute trade. And the price? A future third-rounder. That's it. But here's the thing. This wasn't just about one player. This was the third major defensive move the Eagles made in less than a week. And if you think they're stopping there, think again. Philly is loading the gun, aiming squarely at another Super Bowl run, and they don't care how many draft picks it costs. But the way they're going about it, it's bold, it's risky. And depending on how this plays out, it'll either make them legendary or leave them drowning in regrets. Meanwhile, other teams are scrambling, rumors are flying, star players are getting phone calls they didn't expect. And when a team like the Ravens sneaks in last second to grab Draymond Jones, you start to realize something: this trade deadline isn't just busy, it's calculated war. What the Eagles are building right now, if it works, could change the whole playoff dynamic, but not every fan's convinced. Some say they're selling short-term hype and long-term disaster. So what's really going on behind the scenes? Why are contenders throwing future picks around like confetti? Let's break down the trades, the strategy, and the craziest rumors still hanging in the air. Because something big is happening, and it may have just started with Jaylen Phillips. When the news dropped that the Eagles had landed Jaylen Phillips, most fans had the same reaction. Wait, they got who? For what? It happened fast, and if you blinked, you might have missed it. The Eagles sent a 2026 third-round pick to the Miami Dolphins in exchange for Jaylen Phillips, a move that shocked nearly everyone outside the league office. This wasn't your average mid-season roster tweak. This was an aggressive power play. Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Phillips might not be a household name yet, but make no mistake, the man is a serious problem for opposing quarterbacks. He's big, athletic, and when he's on, he looks like he was built in a lab to blow up pass protection schemes. And now, he's joining a front line that already includes Jalen Carter, one of the most feared young interior linemen in the NFL. But here's the kicker. This move didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of desperation. The Eagles are currently sitting at 23rd in total defense and 24th in sacks numbers that don't scream Super Bowl ready. Opposing teams have had way too much time in the pocket, and that's left their secondary exposed all season long. So what did Philly do? They didn't wait. They didn't overthink. They pounced. But what's really surprising is that this is just one piece of a much bigger pattern. Jaylen Phillips wasn't a one-off move. He was part of a full-blown defensive reload. In less than 7 days, the Eagles made 3 major trades, each one stacking another weapon onto a defense that had been getting burned weekly. After picking up Phillips, they also landed cornerbacks Michael Carter II and Jair Alexander in separate deals, both of whom are known for their physical style, speed, and ability to shift momentum. 3 trades, 1 week, 1 message. We're not here to wait, we're here to win. And honestly, it makes sense. This team knows its window is now. With Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and DeAndre Swift humming on offense, the only thing holding them back has been that soft underbelly on defense. Teams have been picking them apart, and it's become clear if the Eagles want to get back to the Super Bowl, they have to fix that side of the ball. So instead of sitting around praising the offense, they did something rare. They went all in on the one area that could flip their entire season. But here's what's even more telling. These aren't just plug-and-play guys. They're ball hawks. They bring swagger. They change the energy of a defensive unit. And they're going to be expected to deliver not in 6 months, not in the preseason now. So either this shakes up their locker room in the best way possible, or it throws off the chemistry completely. And as bold as these moves seem, they might have given us a hidden clue about something even bigger brewing behind the scenes. On the surface, Jaylen Phillips looks like just another trade headline, but anyone who's watched him play knows this guy is way more than a stat sheet filler. Standing at 6'5", pushing 265 pounds, Phillips is the type of edge rusher that opposing coordinators game plan against. He's not just about raw speed, he's smart off the edge, reads plays in real time, and knows how to force quarterbacks into mistakes. He can disrupt plays even when he's not getting sacks. But here's where it gets really interesting. Phillips had one of his best seasons under Vic Fangio, the same defensive wizard now leading Philly's defense. That means no adjustment period, no guesswork. He already knows the system. He's played in it. He's thrived in it. That's dangerous. Because when you drop a familiar weapon into an aggressive scheme, especially one that's already built around a monster like Jalen Carter on the interior, you don't just improve your line, you activate it. You start creating traps, force offenses into rushed decisions, which feeds your secondary. That ripple effect is huge. This isn't just about fixing the pass rush numbers, it's about creating chaos. Phillips brings the kind of pressure that cracks games wide open. And paired with Carter, that could be one of the most explosive D-line combos in the league. But with all this stacking, there's been one name floating around that fans can't ignore. Because some people thought the Eagles were still aiming for one massive prize, no sooner had news of the Jaylen Phillips trade dropped than the internet started buzzing with a wilder theory. Was this just the warm-up? Rumors began rippling through social feeds, suggesting that Philly might be eyeing the biggest fish in the defensive ocean, Myles Garrett. You could almost hear keyboards catching fire. Philly fans imagined a line anchored by Jalen Carter, flanked by Garrett and Phillips, the NFL equivalent of building a blast furnace. But when you cut through the noise, here's what's actually on the table. Industry insiders say the Eagles inquired, not offered, when word spread that Cleveland might be re-evaluating pieces after another shaky start. Those talks fizzled quickly. Sources close to both teams pointed out that the Browns view Garrett as non-negotiable. He isn't just their best defender, he is their identity. Letting him go would feel like tearing the logo off the helmet. There's some logic behind the fantasy, though. Philadelphia's front office has shown it's willing to mortgage picks for proven impact. So when fans caught wind of what if, trade packages, online multi-first-round proposals, even player swaps, the idea snowballed until it looked half real. Still, everything credible points the same direction. Garrett isn't moving. Cleveland wants to win with him, not start from scratch without him. And honestly, keeping that kind of cornerstone is the only thing that makes sense. But the fact that this rumor even exploded so quickly tells you something. Teams smell opportunity. Everyone's restless. Because when one franchise like Philly kicks open the buyer's market, the rest of the contenders start checking their ammunition. And that's where the story takes a sharp turn east to another team that's been quietly gearing up for its own postseason siege. While everyone was staring at the Eagles' fireworks, the Ravens quietly slipped through the back door and made one of the smoothest moves of the deadline. Late in the day, Baltimore acquired Draymond Jones from the Titans, sending over a conditional fifth-round pick that could escalate to a fourth. On paper, that sounds small. On the field, it's big. Jones isn't a headline magnet, but he's a technician. He stacked up 4.5 sacks in his last 4 games alone, a stat line that screams mid-season heater. At 28, he's just old enough to understand the grind, yet still quick enough to collapse a pocket before most linemen can blink. Those traits make him perfect for the Ravens' brand of controlled chaos. Baltimore's defense hasn't been what it used to be. Too many missed tackles, too little consistency. So instead of waiting for things to click, the front office did what Baltimore always does when it smells weakness it engineered a fix. Quietly. Efficiently. Without the drama. And the best part for Ravens fans? The timing couldn't be sweeter. Lamar Jackson is healthy again, the offense is humming, and every veteran in that locker room can feel a playoff chase brewing. Bringing in a pass-rushing spark at this precise moment is like lighting a fuse. But trades like this do more than strengthen one roster, they shift pressure across the entire conference. When a team like Baltimore doubles down, it forces everyone else to ask, are we doing enough? It nudges rivals into panic mode. And that ripple of urgency is exactly what's driving the most fascinating contrast in football right now: 2 philosophies, moving in opposite directions, both convinced they're right. If you zoom out for just a second, you start to see 2 philosophies colliding head-on across the league, both chasing the same prize, both convinced the other is wrong. On one side, you have the win-now clubs, the Eagles, Ravens, maybe even the 49ers, selling off future draft picks like they're clearance items at a Black Friday sale. Every move screams urgency. They trust proven veterans more than hypothetical rookies, and patience is a luxury they've decided they can't afford. The message is simple. Championship windows don't stay open forever. Then there's the other camp, the franchises holding tight to their cornerstones, preaching culture and continuity even when the standings look ugly. The Browns, for example, refuse to entertain any serious talk about trading Myles Garrett. To them, he isn't a trade chip. He's the foundation the rebuild rests on. You don't tear out the only pillar keeping the house from crumbling. And stuck somewhere in between sits a team like Cincinnati. They have a franchise quarterback who could start for anyone, 2 elite receivers, and an offense built to score on every drive, yet they keep running into the same wall. A defense that can't hold the line. It's football's central paradox. How much can raw talent compensate for imbalance? This clash of strategies gives the season its tension. Some teams gamble everything for a shot today. Others prefer to protect tomorrow. And by the time the postseason dust settles, one side will be hailed as visionary and the other as reckless, but no one knows which yet. Because as we're about to see, even with all that star power and front office strategy, the truth of every season still comes down to one thing. When your best player does everything right and you still lose, what does that tell you? Joe Burrow is the kind of quarterback teams spend decades trying to find calm in chaos, unshakably confident, and able to dissect a defense like he's reading tomorrow's paper. But lately, great hasn't been nearly enough. There have been games where Burrow has thrown for 400 yards, no picks, maybe 10 incompletions total, and still walked off the field down 3 scores. That's not frustration, it's futility. It's watching perfection vanish under somebody else's blown coverage. And that feeling changes a player. You start realizing that in this league, effort and brilliance don't always cash the same check. The Bengals' defense has sprung so many leaks this season that even Burrow's best nights end in rescue missions. One week, it's communication breakdowns. The next, it's missed tackles that turn third long into highlight reels for the other guys. From the outside, it looks like impatience. Inside that locker room, it's exhaustion, because when the offense has to operate at superhero level just to survive, eventually reality catches up. No quarterback, no matter how skilled, can drag an unbalanced team through 17 weeks of grind and still have gas left for January. And that's the quiet truth behind all these headline trades. Whether it's Philly, Baltimore, or anyone else, every general manager understands what Cincinnati is feeling right now. Failing to fix the weak side isn't just a defensive problem, it's how entire seasons die slowly. Which leads us straight to the question fueling every front office at this point in the year. If bold trades can close that gap before the window closes, how far will teams go? If you think the trade chaos is over, you're in for a surprise. The next 30 days might redefine how teams build champions. Front offices across the league are already on alert. When franchises like the Eagles push this many chips into the middle, it shakes the market. Teams that thought they were one player away suddenly start acting like it. Whispers turn into phone calls become offers. The market never sleeps once desperation sets in. We're watching a quiet arms race unfold. The AFC powerhouses have begun rearming with speed rushers and coverage specialists. The NFC's contenders are rating their future drafts like it's the clearance rack of 2026. Even the so-called rebuilders are peeking over the fence, wondering if one gutsy deal could pull them back into relevance. And here's the twist. It's working both ways. For every team adding veterans, another is quietly stacking picks, preparing for a total reset. Someone's going to look like a genius in January. Someone else will be answering awkward off-season questions about why it didn't work. So, as the deadline smoke clears and the next few weeks of games roll in, keep your eye on 2 things. How quickly Jaylen Phillips meshes with that Eagles front, and how many other teams panic trying to match them. Because history loves momentum, and right now, momentum wears midnight green. If the chemistry clicks, this could be the move that shifts the league's balance of power. And if it crashes, it becomes the cautionary tale every GM quotes for the next decade. Either way, the clock's ticking, the phones are buzzing, and the next month of football might turn out to be wilder than any draft day in memory. The trade for Jaylen Phillips wasn't just another transaction. It was the first domino. And the rest? They're already starting to fall.